Kim Driscoll. I'm the mayor of Salem. Really fortunate to be leading and living in a wonderful community. If we want to continue to be the type of community we are today, a place that welcomes individuals with different backgrounds, different income levels, a place that has a mix of housing, we really need to be thoughtful about our policies. And we need people engaged, helping shape our community today as we think about the future. Imagine Salem's been a key part of our efforts as we think about our 400th anniversary. Salem turns 400 in 2026, it's our quadricentennial. And more than just thinking about having a celebration or a party, we really want to think about what kind of community do we want to have when we turn 400.
The housing market in Salem is really changed quite a bit in the last 10 years as Salem has. Mayor Driscoll's tenure has been tremendous, and Salem just continues to improve and improve and improve. As a tourist destination, its infrastructure, its transportation access, including the ferry now to Boston, it's just, Salem has done really well. But as the city becomes more desirable as a cultural hub with its transportation opportunities, its waterfront access, all of its wonderful amenities, the things that are getting created are higher end. Higher end housing is what's getting built, not so uncommon for other communities around the Commonwealth, and it's becoming harder and harder for people to live there. So we're concerned about gentrification, and we're concerned about ongoing access for longtime Salem residents and workers in the community, especially in the tourism industry, to be able to live in Salem.
What is considered accessible in Salem? You know, right now, if you're looking for a 2-bedroom apartment in Salem and you find it for $1,600, the heavens have opened and it's Christmas Day, right? Ideally, I would love to see a 2-bedroom apartment at $1,400. And the reason why I say that number is because $1,400 seems to be that number where if you're working a full-time job, you're not spending more than 50% of your paycheck in rent. If you're spending more than 50% of your paycheck in rent, soon enough you're going to find yourself in a position where you're asking yourself, well, what bill do I pay this month?
Having been born and raised in Salem and having the opportunity to move back with my 5 children, I was really excited to come back to Salem to raise my kids. With the rents being so high, it's very costly to live. I could not afford to provide for my family without the help of my 2 adult sons. It takes all of us and all our income to make ends meet. After being married for 20 years and then being out on my own, I had no idea the struggles I was going to face when looking for suitable housing for my 5 boys and I. I was faced with discrimination because we have a large family and landlords don't want that many people living in their property. Of course, I looked at all my housing resources and went online and filled out applications, went to local housing authorities, filled out applications there. Once again, how daunting when you find out how long the waiting lists are. I almost ended up homeless. There was a lot going on. It's made me stronger as a result. And I just kept looking and I just kept pushing and I just kept looking. And on the weekend of Easter Sunday, Pam, the landlord here in North Salem, called me and said, "Are you still interested?" And I said, "Yes." Then I find out months later, after everything's settled, my 6-year-old got accepted to a school in Boston. Transportation's all set, everything's all set, that the landlord's financial situation has changed. And not to take it personal, but it became very personal because now the search was on again. And having been through the search prior, I knew there was nothing else out there. So once again, I persevered and pushed forward and checked those applications that are still years out, and trying to find a 3-bedroom, almost impossible. And if there are 3 bedrooms out there, they're so expensive, I can't afford them. I don't know if any of you realize the expense of moving into a new place is the equivalent to the down payment of a house. First, last, security, and sometimes even a realtor's fee. So anyways, the house went up for sale, and as I'm trying to maintain the house, take care of the children, work, and look for another place to live, this wonderful couple, hopefully, if everything goes well with the inspection, is purchasing the house, and we get to stay. But my neighbors upstairs aren't so lucky, because that's the unit that the owners want to occupy.
My name is Domingo Dominguez. I'm one of the city councilors at large in the great city of Salem, and I live in Salem for more than 27 years. Affordable housing helped me tremendously. When I first moved here, I had my own family, and I moved from New Jersey. And the fact that I got the opportunity to live in one of the affordable housing that the CDC provides helped tremendously for me in the future to buy my own house and be able to be on my own. I see that we have housing for a group of people that really can afford, and we see a majority of people that cannot afford it. We have low income, but we also have people who need affordable housing, work family who wanted to really work here and live here.
When we're referring to workforce housing, we're really referring to people that are in the workforce at different levels, particularly those that are in the workforce that are earning incomes below what the market produces housing that matches. So if somebody's making $40,000 or $50,000 a year, the market does not make housing for them. Does not happen. And they're in the workforce, and their employers need them to do that, and we as a society need them to do their job. And therefore we need to have housing as a matter of public infrastructure, just like we need to have water or clean air or access to health care.
What I love most about living in Salem is the sense of community. I feel like I get the chance to meet a lot of people in the community and develop meaningful relationships and connections with them. Also, as a teacher at the local high school, I get the opportunity to engage with my students in a way that's outside of the classroom, which I think really deepens our connection and definitely makes our relationships a lot stronger. As I'm getting older, I want to purchase a home in Salem. As a teacher, it is difficult to find something that works with the budget that I have.
When I came on the department in 1996, Salem was a lot different. The city was quieter. It was a more affordable place to live, including the entire region. Salem was a place you could still afford to buy a home. I bought a house in 1996 on an entry-level salary here at the Salem Fire Department. I'm not sure some of the new guys coming on the job could afford to do that as things are now in the city of Salem. When you have firefighters working in Salem, if we were to get an incident, it's important that the guys were in the area to respond to supplement our needs in the event of a major incident. And if they're not living in our community or in close proximity to it, there will be a delay in getting guys coming, we call it a callback, to come in for a callback. So same be told over at the police station. If they got guys, you really would like people that are invested in your community to be also involved in working in these communities, and that's not always possible if you can't afford to live here.
North Shore CDC's mission is to invest in neighborhoods to create thriving communities, and we think about improving the quality of life in historically low-income neighborhoods on the North Shore. Part of our other work, of course, is creating really dynamic public art. I think one of the great things about Salem is that it is a really diverse community in every respect, including economically diverse. And so many people that I know personally and through working at North Shore CDC often cite Salem's diversity as the primary reason why they live here.
My name is Keisha De Leon, and I've lived in Salem for 27 years. So I'm a renter in the Point neighborhood, and I live here with my husband and with my daughter. I moved here from my parents' house, so this is the only place I've lived other than in the nest. My dream one day would be to live in a home that also has some sort of studio space with some big sinks and some walls that you can splatter, but that's a dream. Being an artist in Salem really has allowed me to see the way that a community can come together and start having new conversations and bring a new culture into our environment. My art was displayed on Artist Row in Salem, which has always been a space that lends itself well to like creative endeavors, but also through my connections in the city and through my relationship with North Shore CDC, I have gone on to create 3 murals for North Shore CDC. If I were to stay in Salem, it would be very hard because it's not a market that lends itself well to be able to buy when you're an entrepreneur, when you're a young family, or when you're a young person.
I think one of the reasons we're so interested in having an inclusionary housing ordinance in Salem is it's an opportunity for us as a community to put our community values into policy by having a city law that says if you're going to do new development here, we really want to incorporate housing that meets the broad spectrum of the people who live here.
We really like the idea of inclusionary zoning in Salem, and frankly we'd like to see it in every community in the region. And really what inclusionary zoning is it's a requirement that when a market building is getting developed, let's just say a normal 100-unit apartment building or any size, 20 units, that a certain percentage of those units have to have price points that are at different income levels. So it's a way of ensuring that there, as the tide lifts, as it were, right, as market development is being made, that there'll be opportunity and access for different people who do different kinds of jobs, and that we're not just building housing for people that are earning more than $100,000 a year, but that we're also building housing inside those structures for our teachers and our restaurant workers and people that take care of the landscaping. And tend the bar and serve the coffee and all different kinds of folks.
The challenges of building affordable housing are several. One is the cost of land and the availability of land. As a city that's 8 square miles, we're fairly dense and fairly built out. 2 is the cost of construction. It's expensive to build housing. Anybody knows that if you're just trying to build a small addition on your own home. Those numbers multiply when you're talking about a ground-up construction.
The cost of the permits, the cost of the land, of insurance, all of that gets passed on to the buyer. The longer the project takes to build, the more costly it is, which is why we're seeing all of these prices astronomically high. You know, if you take a look at the Salem market year over year for residential sales, we went up 7% year over year. 7% on an average sale price in Salem. Wages don't even begin to skim that.
Other than inclusionary zoning, the way that we can create affordable housing options would be to create accessory dwelling units. This is something that not every, but many buildings and homes can accommodate what we all think of as an in-law apartment. And those create wonderful options, not only for the proverbial elderly mother-in-law, but also for the 22-year-old who can't afford to rent a 1-bedroom apartment. Other than inclusionary zoning and creating accessory dwelling units, some of the great ways that we could create a meaningful supply of more affordable housing is to think creatively about where we could build more affordable housing Where that has to start in any city that is serious about this is prioritizing municipally owned sites to create affordable housing. We have to say affordable housing is a critical priority for the community, and therefore we're going to prioritize that outcome as what we want on any one of those sites. Otherwise, affordable housing will never be created in any real way.
I'm not sure when we say affordable housing what that means to everyone in Salem. It has a different meaning. For us, when we think about affordable housing and income levels, we're talking about teachers and entry-level professionals who just are being outpaced by what it costs to live here.
I think that we need to really work on educating the public, because affordable housing is not something that just affects those people.
If you don't have affordable housing options for every element of the population, it could work against us in the future. It's essential that we can, populate our community with people that work here.
It affects absolutely everybody. It affects our veterans, it affects our senior citizens, our young professionals. It affects absolutely everybody.
Everyone that's working for the city is trying to make a difference, and it's very sad to see that my colleagues, even myself, have difficulty finding a place to live in Salem when we do so much for this city.
Some of the consequences of artists not being able to afford living in the town that they've bloomed creatively in is the city will lose that voice, the city will lose that perspective.
So I don't know exactly what the future holds, if we'll all stay together, but I know we love living together.
Any action that you hear about affordable housing, try to be there. When people ask you to join in meetings or in a forum, come and ask questions and make sure that you really be educated and you be able to know exactly what we're talking about here.
The housing demand in Salem and the needs of people living in our community for housing is a moral issue at several different levels, and it's really important that we all lend a hand in helping address it.